What's the most fucked up thing you've seen at work? U/Tomal responded. I was sorting all the psych patients that were hospitalized in my state, and got to this guy, a teenager or maybe a bit older, and he got sent to the ward because he suddenly got aggressive and started to have some episodes that he squirmed in pain, took off his clothes and things like that. Before being hospitalized he was complaining about these things, but nothing the medics did was working and nothing wrong was found, so it should be a psychiatric issue, no? Wrong, he was put in the ward for 2 or so years and lost a lot of his life, being considered insane, because he developed a rare spinal cancer that was hard to detect and caused him extreme pain. Really fucked up. I don't remember what happened to him afterward, but I'm not really optimistic that it had an happy ending. U/Uncle Graco responded. I worked at one of the busiest Walmarts in the country during spring break for 6 years. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I guess the drunk lady leaving the bathroom with her pants around her ankles while actively shitting as she walked across the front of the building and back outside into the wild. None of the workers wanted to deal with it, so they parked a shopping cart over each turd until the cleaning crew came in. U/Adrieligo responded. Worked at a Nissan dealership where most salespeople wear slimy POS. One senior citizen with a veteran ball cap was working on a deal for a car for his grandkid. Nice old guy got tired and fell asleep in the chair waiting for the sales guy to work out the deal with the sales managers. One of the manager from the bullpen walks by and farts right in the sleeping old man's face, then runs back to the bullpen where everyone was watching and laughing. It was disgusting. I told the sales guy, who I knew was a Iraq vet. He went to the bullpen and screamed in the face of every single one of those fuckers. He screamed so much at them I thought he was gonna pass out. U/Alanasm responded. It's November right before Christmas 2011 and CEO told me, CTO, to fire a guy so we could make our bonuses for the year. I replied, his wife is dying of cancer and has 2 months at most to live and he has kids. Just fire me and you'll make your bonus. Without so much as a blink he said, well, what would you do? I said, I can defer some equipment purchases to the next year and that will cover the $30,000-ish you are looking for. He said, great, do that. He literally didn't care about another human being who was at the lowest of their lows. I'll never forget that, and fuck you, Rich. U/Drbadtouch94 responded. Worked with a guy at a retail store. He came in one day with one red eye and the other normal, so L asked if he was okay. He said yes and said his pet rabbit scratched him while he was playing with it. I didn't think anything of it until about 3 days later when he got arrested, charged with the murder of a pregnant woman and her fetus. He partly dismembered her body to try to hide his tracks, and when he realized that wouldn't work, he then burned her house down with her body inside. That's when I realized that those scratches were really from her fighting for her life. His name is Matthew Brush, and as far as I know, he's still in prison. U/Kibbles and Beaths responded. Craned an old grain bin that was cemented into the concrete slab it was on. The bird shit, feathers, and carcasses made a firm floor about 2 feet deep. Inside were about 15 pigeons who looked like they never seen the light of day. Some were too fucked up to fly, or too young. One was pink, like bald, and absolutely the offspring of multi-generational incest. They were all fucked up. They couldn't get out because the only place to escape was the cap at the top, which is impossible for a bird to fly vertically through without messing up their flight on the roof sheets. I'm guessing they survived off of the grain left inside it, and cannibalizing the dead. Most farmers in my experience air out the bins and leave ways for birds to escape before we show up to do work. But that was probably the nastiest farmyard I've been in. There were 7 other bins just like it in a row. U/JustIncredible240 responded. I worked in an assembly line, making skyjacks. A female co-worker was cleaning a base with her hand on a tire. Another worker was testing the tires, and when she tested the tire that the girl was resting her hand on, it forced her arm into a lynch gap in the base. I couldn't even squeeze my pinky in this gap. She was stuck in this machine for about 45 minutes, arm completely shattered. Everyone was in a panic trying to get her arm out, but they literally had to disassemble the whole thing. The screams still haunt me. U/Careful with the bananas responded. I worked at a Goodwill for a few years. We had lots of drug addicts trying to shoot up in the changing room and had an occasional OD. But the most shocking thing I experienced was the amount of times people physically threatened or attacked me or my co-workers when we refused their donations. Getting in our faces and trying to push us around. One guy tried to hit someone with a car. Another one threw a picture frame that narrowly missed smashing my supervisor's head. Another threw such a temper tantrum that he smashed an entire set of chairs and a kitchen table. There was also someone who called the police because we changed the prices on softcover books. U/calm_visit_3169 responded. A guy at my old job got fired and asked if he could sit in my truck while he waited for a ride. I said yes because we were work friends. Well, his ride showed up and was waiting for him for like 15 minutes, so I went to my truck to see what he was doing. I opened the door to see him passed out with a needle in his arm. He came to and was very ashamed that he was shooting up in my truck. I honestly just felt bad for him. He was previously a recovering addict, but relapse got the better of him. I hope he's doing better now. Edit. Other than that, saw a guy blow himself up and watched his head fly over my helicopter. Both were pretty crazy, I guess. U/area turbulent responded. I worked at a vet's office as a veterinary technician. We worked in a lower privileged area, and unfortunately that meant a lot of the animals we saw were not taken care of as they should have been, whether intentionally or not. But there was one dog who was not older than 2 years. But she looked like a senior dog of 15+ years with the amount of damage. This poor dog had been declawed, but it was a nightmare of a mess. She clearly had pains when she walked. She was missing an eye. The owner said she got a stick in her eye. Fat shit in my opinion. Her neck had clear signs of long-term being chained too tight, red welts. Anyways, none of those things were the main problem. The owner was middle-aged man who looked like he couldn't give a shit about his dog. But he said the dog barked all the time and smelled terrible, so his wife made him bring it. We took the dog back and he was right, it smelled god-awful. We noticed an oozing spot on her shoulder. So we ended up shaving the dog, and her entire side was completely covered in red infected skin. The pain that poor dog must have felt would have been unimaginable. We found she had been shot with buckshot that had gotten infected and spread to her entire skin. We knew she was beyond help. The owner didn't want to pay for it and said he would take care of it at home. I then heard him on the phone in the other room saying he was gonna take the dog and use it as hunting practice. What a disgusting human being. I told my veterinarian, who was already horrified and wanting to call animal control. Anyways, we pretended the dog died and he left, and we knew the poor thing was beyond help. So we have her food and pain medication and put her to sleep. Rest easy puppy, you/Patto89 responded. I once provided care for a man with dementia that often led to him being paranoid. His brother, an ex-police officer, was stealing from him. He would pick up his pension but steal about 10 to 20% of it each time. When the gentleman I cared for called his brother out on it, his brother would always blame his dementia for his suspicions, and then guilt-trip him into apologizing for doubting him. Eventually we were asked to collect his pension instead of his brother, after his brother refused to provide a full paper trail of his pension and to deliver the money in the sealed envelope it's given in at the office. His brother kicked off big time, trying to get us to stop providing care so he could keep exploiting him. We stood our ground, duty of care above all else, and our man got the pension he earned through his life in full. I saw lots of other messed up stuff in that job, but there's something about a man's older brother exploiting and emotionally gaslighting him which just hits hard. You/anybody see my keys responded. I worked at a company of about 28 people where 1. Partner number 1 died in our largest client's corporate jet crash. 2. 10 months later, partner number 2 and president was caught by his wife canoodling an account executive, checked into a hotel with a pint of Rocky Road ice cream, a bottle of champagne, and a snub-nosed .38 and did the predictable thing. In truth, it was one of 4 different affairs in an office of 28 people. That meant more than one person in every 3 was banging one another. By the way, I wasn't one of them. 3. Partner number 3 came out of 6 months of rehab to take over the helm of the shop. True to form for people who go through rehab, he thought everybody should go through a 12-step program. So he bussed us all up to a mountaintop in the middle of January to talk about our feelings and do trust exercises. 4. After that, he started firing employees who had manned their posts while he was in rehab. I wasn't one of them, but I certainly didn't trust him with my career. All in a 2-year period. You/Coffee Blossom responded. Patient comes into the ER, gets full sepsis workup. His chemistries are all fucked up. He required a manual white cell count because his was so high the analyzer basically said WTF. His urine was full of white cells and bacteria. You know, your classic old person UTI that's gone septic. We figure he's going to be admitted. Nope, they send him home. Mind you, this was not a case of patient left AMA, against medical advice. This was just the doctor said, yeah, seems like you've got a UTI. Go home and drink some cranberry juice. 2 days later, the same patient comes in, with the same complaint. Gets the same blood and urine tests. While I'm doing the manual white cell count, the phone rings. It's the reference lab down the street. The blood cultures on the patient I'm currently working on from 2 days prior have come up positive. I take the notification and call the ER to let them know. Us labbies figure he's going to be admitted for sure this time. Come to find out, they sent him home again. Again, not an AMA, a go home and drink some cranberry juice. U/Rollno 2091 responded. 2 incidents at 2 different Walmart grocery distribution centers. The first, I got to work when they were wheeling out an inventory control coworker of mine to an ambulance with blood everywhere. She had a forklift operator run through an intersection on the dry grocery sidewalks first and speared her leg with a fork up against the rack. She nearly died on the way to the hospital. The second was a banana room door that came down fast for the lifts to go through or an employee to walk in, came down and sliced the nose off a quality control employee, resulting in an investigation that showed the doors company-wide were installed incorrectly. Worst thing I heard about was at the West Point plant in Chipley, Florida. An employee had her arm ripped up in a comforter machine. U/Bolsonaro's a cunt responded. Worked in search and rescue almost 10 years ago. We entered a building in an area that had been recently shelled quite heavily and it was in rough shape. The apartments on the lower levels had been completely shredded, and while the upstairs apartments looked okay on the inside, there were huge cracks in the walls and floors of the building and everything you touched or stepped on erupted in a cloud of dust. Power was out, plumbing was shot to shit with leaks all over the place, the people inside needed relocating somewhere safe. We could hear screaming from I think the 3rd floor, but as we moved upwards it was getting fainter and fainter, gradually reducing into a kind of wailing sobbing sound. We eventually find the apartment it's coming from, and on the other side of the door is a kid maybe 6 to 7 years old crouched under a table, hands over his ears, and there is blood everywhere. It's on the floors, all over the tabletop, there's arcs of it spattered up the walls. We had no idea what to expect. Then we went around the corner into the kitchen and found the mother. She was slumped on the floor, still weakly sobbing with both of her hands amputated on the floor next to her. She was trying to clutch her bleeding stumps in some bedsheets and an old towel. Her injuries were nothing to do with direct exposure to the conflict. Her husband had allegedly caught her with evidence of infidelity, severed both of her hands in rage, and then fled the scene. He had been radicalized into local extremist groups, and as soon as the situation in the city turned truly ugly, he left her there to die. I hope he got worse than she did, in the end. U/deleted responded. A lot. I'm a paramedic. Lady rear ended a log truck, log went through car, killed 18 months old in his car seat. Had a 4-runner roll over on the interstate. Older man and woman in front seats were unresponsive, flew them out. Their son was in middle of back seat. His head went out of the roof when it rolled, peeled roof off, headed went under support beam, crushing it. Grandkids, 7 and 11, sitting on either side of dad in backseat, covered in their dad's brains. Both had broken wrists. 7-year-old kept saying, "My dad is dead. Oh my God, my dad is dead. Can you please help my daddy?" Man, woman, and son worked at the port nearby. Son worked as a medic at the port. Man drove forklifts. Woman spotted man. Man didn't know woman was behind him at one point. Ran her over with forklift, split her in half, drug her intestines about 20 feet out of her body. Son had to first respond. Lost his mind. U/Honeycomb 45 responded. Worked at White Castle. My manager gave me edibles, so I decided to take them on my break. They were small gummies, so I thought it was not much and took the whole bag. Again very small. In about 10 minutes I felt then kicking in, which was kinda fast, so Elle asked her how many milligram. According to her 1000 milligrams. When I showed her the empty bag her jaw dropped all the way down. She was like, "Yeah no, I'ma have you work in the back for the rest of the shift." I was so fucked up I could not tell between my imagination and reality, but I tell you I cleaned the fuck out of that place. I honestly had a near psychedelic state. It was astronomical tbh. I don't remember much, but damn I remember the feeling I had. Edit, my bad. I thought this said what's the most fucked up you've been at work. U/Clearlake 007 responded. Co-workers penis and management no big deal response. I was 18, just out of high school. I was leaving the break room going down the stairs. He was coming up the stairs with dick in hand. He pushed me down and tried to get my pants down. I kicked, steel toe boots, and scratched till I was able to get away. Ran to the front counter with my work shirt ripped open in the front, buttons were gone, and pants still halfway on. Immediately told the store manager. He said, "What do you expect? You work at a lumberyard." I quit. Nothing was ever done to the guy. The manager later was also accused of corrosive control and rape of 2 female employees at same lumberyard. I didn't report my incident. I should have, but that's 30 years ago and I didn't know my worth or self. I was a good kid and didn't want to make waves. 3 years later, that same guy's brother is arrested for rape and murder of a local woman. I guess it runs in his family. You/corn on the crab responded. Working at a marina in college. One of the boats from the boat club comes hauling ass into the fuel dock, people yelling like crazy. As they bounce into the dock, I notice there's a few people compressing towels on a dude in the bow and the deck is covered in blood. Story goes the guy was pulling himself along a tube rope back to the swim platform. Idiot driver decided to shorten the trip by throwing the boat in reverse. Thrust pulled the guy into the prop, slicing him up from ankle to abdomen. Ambulance shows up and they start getting him off the boat and onto the gurney, and dude's all kinds of filleted with a testicle hanging out of his body. Heard from the boat club staff he survived, but I know that wasn't an easy recovery and he was never the same. Second runner up from the same job, had an old cabin cruiser explode and launch a bunch of people, including kids, off of the boat. Had just fueled up and one of the engines stalled. Captain tried to fire it back up and a load of gas fumes ignited in the bilge. Always run your blower, folks. You/couple technical 6795 responded. Trigger warning, SA. I saw the aftermath, so to speak. I was a CNA working in a large nursing home. I was filling in for a couple days on a floor I didn't usually work on. So I did my stuff to each patient. On this floor, none of the patients could talk or move on their own. I cleaned up one elderly lady and noticed she didn't have pubic hair where I would normally expect to see it. It was missing around her actual genitals. I thought it was weird, and I also noticed her genital area was reddened. I figured she'd had some sort of issue and that's why it didn't look right. About an hour later, the head nurse has me and 2 other aides come into an office. She asks us if we noticed anything weird with any of the residents. One of the other CNAs said she noticed 2 different ladies had reddened genital areas. I was like, and I mentioned the patient I'd seen with it also. As you've probably guessed by now, a male CNA on the floor was raping patients. Had to give a statement to police, and he was fired off, but don't know anything else because I left to work at a facility closer to my home not long after this. So LVE seen fucked up shit, but I think that was worst. You/traffic mallard responded. Worked at a yacht club as a lifeguard. One of the perks of working in the restaurant on premise was that you or your family could use the swimming pool at your leisure. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and the pool was filled with black people who worked in the restaurant, and their spouses, kids, etc. My boss comes up to me and says, "The owners are coming, get the N-words out of the pool." I don't care how you do it. I handed him my whistle and tank top, and told him where to stick it. I was the only lifeguard on duty that day, and I was the only licensed pool operator on staff. They had to shut down the pool until they could get a licensed pool operator hired. Hope the management enjoyed explaining it to the owners. You/daring do 95 responded. I worked at a small town pizza place in the southern US. 2 of the co-workers on the time was a redneck kid that always did his job, but he was very racist and full of himself. The other kid was black, always did his job, but he was a good kid and was a good team player and willing to correct his own mistakes. They knew each other in high school and were roughly the same age. One night, they were messing around and the redneck kid called the other a slave as an insult. He then slaps him with a wet cleaning rag, and the black kid lightly hit him back. The redneck kid started to cry and stepped out to call his dad. His dad made him quit his job and he came up to the store and threatened my manager and told him to keep that N-word away from his son. It got so bad, the police had to come in and put a restraining order on the guy. You/freezing process responded. I worked in the casino biz for almost 25 years. Here are some of the things I have seen. People fall over dead, followed by people asking if they could have their chips credits. Watched a woman use a chair to jump on her husband's shoulders to punch him in the head, trying to get him to leave the casino. Theft from customer to customer, customer to casino, and have actually seen casino employees steal from customers. Casino patrons get in group fights. Thousands of sex workers. Watched security brutalize people in gratuitous fashion. Suicide attempts. Celebrities acting like complete children. And, of course, no shortage of racism, bigotry, transphobia from customers to management. You/don't bother no response responded. I used to work for an art studio that did illustrations for medical litigation, so LVE seen some really fucked up stuff. We would always get pictures, security footage, etc. If it was going to be evidence in the lawsuit, we got it. Plenty of ripped off body parts, any and all of them, people shot in the face, police brutality, animal attacks, you name it. There was one dude driving too fast at night and went under a semi-trailer he didn't see. The roof of his car did this canned food, pull the tab and lift up and back to open kinda thing, and his head was the bits that came with the lid. But the absolute worst I ever saw, a kid was riding in a car on the highway and not wearing a seatbelt. The car hit one of those median cut-through areas and went from 70 to 0 in less than a second. He was flung from the car into oncoming traffic and went under some large truck. Not sure if semi, or dump truck, or tow truck or what. I can only describe what this kid looked like was imagine you take a full tube of toothpaste and remove the cap, then slam a fist down on it where the cap was the top half of his head. Wear a seatbelt, kids. You/dinosaur back responded. Time for my favorite fucked up work story. I work in a vacation town. One day this couple walks in, they look like they are in their late 30s, with their 2 sons, one is like 10 to 12 and the other is 6 to 8. The parents are super drunk, it's like 11 p.m, they on vacation so I get it. Well they start to agree about something I didn't catch the beginning of but it ended with, husband, if we are done, then tell the kids. Wife crouches down in front of the younger son, at eye level with him and goes mommy and daddy are getting a divorce. She storms off, the older son runs after her, the younger one stays with the dad just crying. Most fucked up thing LVE heard was when I told her lady gotta love kids, Don Chacha. Cause the kid was getting on her nerves, her response was you can give birth to them but you don't have to love them. I just want to end this by saying please love your kids and if you are going to agree with your spouse don't drag you kids into it. They have enough shit to deal with anymore. You/Traddy91 responded. There was this girl at my serving job that had a clear drug addiction. She was really nice but would show up late to shifts, call out randomly, etc. So the manager called her in to fire her but the manager also called her friends that were servers to come in on their off day and watch her fire her in front of the restaurant and all the guests. I mean yeah sure fire her but making a fucking show out of it when she's clearly messing up because of an addiction is fucked up. Also at my corporate job, they would send out emails to people to meet them in the break room and fire them as a group. This one kid who was my teammate was on lunch when they sent the email and didn't get it until he got back from lunch. He asked what the email was about and our manager, knowing he was getting fired, told him he shouldn't worry about it. So he didn't and worked the rest of the day. Then at the end of the day they told him he was fired. You/the Burgesson responded. I used to work at a local pizza chain in the New England region. I had been a manager at a few locations and almost all in Rhode Island. I was working in Warren, Rhode Island, and was working with the general manager, a shift leader and 2 other employees. Nice and slow day, nothing special going on. Cleaning the store for the dinner rush. GM is breaking down boxes with a folding utility knife with a brand new razor and not paying attention to what he is doing. While I'm cleaning the dining area, I hear a loud scream and the GM holding his right arm. It will get a bit gory here. He managed to cut from the lower left of his elbow to the bottom right of his wrist on his right arm. This man is pouring blood out of his arm all over the place, and you can see the muscle and the whites of his tendons inside his arm. I grab him and hold his arm over a trash bin while wrapping paper towels to try and staunch the bleeding. I have the employees call 911 and lock up the store so customers don't pop in while I'm trying to avoid this guy bleeding out. I have one of the employees who was not having a panic attack cut up their apron so I can make a tourniquet to try and help. Paramedics show up 2 minutes later, but it honestly felt like an eternity, and take it from there. All in all, my GM lost a pint or 2 of blood and gained a nasty scar. What sticks with me from that is the feeling of dried blood all over my hands and trying to wash it all off and go back to work like a normal day. Most fucked up thing I've seen and experienced. You/Miscellaneous responded. So there was this lady who was newish, like 4 months into the role. We have a dog-friendly workplace so she naturally brought her English bulldog to work. One day we are talking on our way to the break room and the dog starts squatting. I say well pup says it's time to go. There is carpet cleaner in the janitor's closet you can use after you pick it up, thinking she would pick it up like a normal person after the dog is done. Instead of letting her dog poop in peace, she dives like she is playing softball and catches the poop in her hands. Her hands are reached out like she is about to catch a baby bird from falling out of a tree. She catches it. The dog poops directly in her hands. That was the time I had to tell someone to take the dog's poop to the bathroom and flush it instead of dumping it in the kitchen's trash. Fun stuff. You/Moxie84 responded. I'm sorry the formatting is so bad. I swear my phone has been taken over by fairies or gnomes or something. I work at a vet clinic and it usually has to do with owners letting their pets deteriorate to an awful level of existence when humane euthanasia is the right choice. An 18-year-old dog that couldn't stand up without having a seizure, who hadn't eaten in a week, and the owners just kept taking her to specialists who told them the same thing: she's dying and in horrible pain. A dog that came in for euthanasia who had cancerous tumors on her face. When sending a pet out for cremation, we have to remove everything from the body. When I removed the bandage, it looked like an alien had grown on the side of her face. The tumor was bigger than her face. The owner did not stay while she was euthanized, and she looked for him the entire time and was so confused until she passed. The cat owner, who insists the medicine we gave her is making her a worse despite the fact that she's dying, which was made clear. It's our fault. We poisoned the cat with the pain meds that are likely making her more comfortable. Don't put your pets through this kind of thing. It's selfish. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Leave your own stories down below, I would love to read them. If you would like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, it helps me out greatly.